kicking for you like it's 9-3. You see, Rob impact the mic, keeping it real, G. Talk about relationships, money, and health. Dropping knowledge while I'm spitting it, that's a wealth.
Complex conversations, we break it down. Pop culture topics, we hold it down. Dive deep into society's complexities. Educate, entertain, never rest in it. Complex
Context, where the truth unfolds. Analyzing life through stories untold. Rob impact, dropping knowledge every day.
Unpacking life's complexities, one topic at a time. You're listening to Complex Context. Here is your host, Rob Impact.
Welcome to Complex Context, where we do unpack life's complexities one topic at a time. I am your host, Rob Impact, and I'm happy that you're back here for another week of discussion and banter back and forth. This is where we kind of put it all out there. How are you doing? I know my week has been unbelievably busy, and I'm guessing yours has been too, because we're in the dead of summer. People have plans. They're trying to get appointments and different kinds of extracurricular activities done, and it's just kind of the middle of the crazy season, at least here in Massachusetts. But what about where you're at? I would love to know, because we have listenership all across the globe. I want to give all of our Complex crew a shout out. I really appreciate your taking the time to come back and join us. Much like last episode, you may hear a whirring in the background. Again, my apologies. We are in the middle of another heat wave. Yes, we actually had a little lull. It has not been totally consecutive from the last time that I was with you. It's just been coming and going with little breaks. I mean, very, very little. So we've had temperatures that are up around the 90s pretty consistently. And I'm doing my best, probably like most people, to make sure that it doesn't get the better of us. So my advice, stay inside if you can. Make sure that your fuzzies are well protected. Don't have them be outside for longer than they need to. That's not fair. That would be like somebody telling you, all right, go outside and just wait for me to say that you could come back in. That would be crazy. I would not be happy about that. So let's make sure that we take care of our animals and show them the same kind of care that we would show our other human loved ones. I'm not much to talk about pop culture references or folks here on the show, but I do want to do that because we've had recently a lot of losses in the celebrity world, at least in terms of celebrities that my generation has followed or grew up with at some point. We've had Benji Gregory, who used to be on the sitcom Alf, which for some reason I wasn't a huge fan when it was newer, but later in life, I don't know if it's reruns that are readily available on TV. I've watched it more and I've kind of been into it more. Maybe it's just because, like most 80s shows, it kind of encaptures a more simple time in life. We've also had Shelley Duvall, Shannon Doherty, Richard Simmons, and Dr. Ruth, all within the span of, if I had to guess, I'd say the past 2 weeks, all pass away. And I came across an interesting post on social media, which I'm not surprised that I came across it, because people are from all different walks of life and have different ways of interpreting information and how they see fit. And yes, I'm not one to usually bring such a topic up on the show, but I do want to do so in line with this social media post. So the post that I saw referenced why people are whining over others passing away, because there's a person that dies, I think, if I remember correctly, every 8 seconds in the world is what he said. And I kind of get where he was going with that, even though it was more than rough around the edges in terms of how he delivered the message. So when we think about why we mourn or why we feel sorrow for certain celebrities or certain pop culture icons, if you will, I believe it has to go in line with the fact that These were people that were deemed talented and had a measurable craft that they were contributing on some type of semi-regular basis. And it struck a chord with, at least, if not us, our family and our friends, that kept them in the limelight and kept them as a conversational name. So Dr. Ruth, for example, I was not one to necessarily follow her in her writings and every interview that she did, though I knew enough from grown-ups around me who enjoyed her body of work and talking about relationships and mostly adult concepts. I try and keep this a family-friendly show, so I don't want to get too descriptive here, but it kind of was enough to make me, even as a younger person, go, oh, okay, this is somebody. And then as you got old enough to be exposed to what she was bringing to the table, you go, oh, okay, I kind of get it. Not fully until later on in life, but I get that she's bringing subject matter that's important to adults, and there's a bit of humor behind the way that she does it. So I think it has to do with the fact that these folks that I just brought up, how many names was that? 5? Let me see. Shelley Duvall, Benji Gregory, Richard Simmons, Dr. Ruth, and did I leave somebody out? I apologize if I know Shannon Doherty. So that's 5 people. Now, these are folks that stretched beyond decades of notoriety and exposure. You're talking very heavily 80s and or 90s, some into the 2000s, if you will. So you can't ignore the fact that their craft, their talent, was shared off and on for a long span of time. And it goes in line with, again, the whole point of this, the social media post that I saw, which is this gentleman who said, why whine about somebody famous dying when there are people that are dying every 8 seconds, according to him. I can't validate that that's true. I haven't fact-checked that yet, but this is according to this gentleman. So my response was, again, in essence of this whole grouping of celebrities that passed away, is they meant something. They each had their own respective entertainment and craft that they provided so many people and so many households that it caused a lot of conversation and relatability amongst friends and family who would follow these respective people. It could be about serious topics, relationship topics. It could be about humor. It could be just about plain old mindless entertainment. It's really insignificant where each person fits in there. The whole point is everybody had something measurable with their talent and their craftsmanship and their life work that they could contribute. And people took note and appreciated it. They were all folks who provided something that the masses got something positive out of. Now, fast forward to, say, the past 10 years, or maybe 5. Let's say 5. Let's play devil's advocate here, because I don't want to speak beyond my recognition of how pop culture is today and my understanding. I try and keep up with it. Thank goodness that we have my daughter around. So you think about today's world. The whole celebrity is just almost a 180 from what it used to be. For folks my age, a slightly middle-aged but still relatively cool Massachusetts dad with all kinds of quirks. Take that as you may. The celebrity of today has such a weird kind of attraction because you have people who navigate towards others based off of what they like to do or what they want to share. Celebrity today is almost like who has mastered the art of winning talent shows the best. When I say that, I know some of you are probably like, Rob, you're a little kind of off here with this. What are you talking about? Let me explain. Most celebrities, especially of the younger generation today, have social media, right? There's nothing wrong with that. I think it's important and a great tool that we're able to connect and network about our thoughts and feelings, but within reason, right? There is so much mindlessness in terms of somebody saying, hey, I want to promote this. Look at this. Or, hey, I'm this person and I wear this and this is how I live my life. And, isn't this cool? And then other people providing reviews on products. You could throw me in there if you would like. I'm just another podcast host, if you will. I don't want to say that what I'm talking about is comparable to what I'm doing here on Complex Context. What I am saying is, because this is such a crazy time where technology and resources are ever present and so many people are taking advantage of it with the hopes of contributing their own perspective and their own experiences to others, that it's hard for people to understand that talent, quote unquote, isn't always reflected in the fact that somebody is able to do something and put it out there for the masses. Because social media and the internet, it's very easy these days for somebody to go online, purchase some equipment, and put something together. Now, some of you may be saying, how's that different from what you're doing? Well, I've had experience doing this, and I started with community FM radio, and I have education in it. So I'm actually doing this in line with what my first love is. That's very different from somebody that says, I want to get a white O-ring light and set up my phone on a special tripod and record a video. There's nothing wrong with that. But what makes you any more in the know or any more of a talent or a celebrity than the next schmo who's doing the same exact thing as you? Other than maybe you have a different catchy name that is marketable more than the other guy that you're trying to rip off. I don't know. I'm not saying this in a bitter way. I'm just saying that the recent deaths of these celebrities marks a time where the significance of talent and pure contributions meant something. And it's so much more disposable in today's world. Now, there are certain people that have their own thing going on, and I like to follow them, and that's great. But am I going to feel the same way about them when their time comes? And I don't even feel good about talking about that. I'm bringing it up in the context of what we're talking about, which is when people pass away, what's the significance of mourning, right? There are social media personalities that I enjoy, or maybe certain independent music artists that I enjoy, and with such an overabundance of people that feel as though they have talent or something significant to put out there, it's hard when you have such this oversaturation to lock yourself in to any small grouping of them and really get a connection, because there is so much. We have so many people putting out so much content. Look at this show, for crying out loud. I'm one of, I can't tell you, probably hundreds of thousands of people that have a podcast. Again, difference is I can prove that I tried the podcast game, I think around 06, 07, when it was just a little concept that really hadn't taken off yet, and I tried that for a little bit. So I'm going to pat myself on the back for that. I'm glad to see this medium take off the way it is. But I'm not trying to ride a gravy train to some kind of monetary goal. That's not my intent. My intent is to give life experience and an opinion to those who are entertained and could use a little bit of banter and back and forth and maybe just have a voice. It's important. There's not a lot of flash that's needed sometimes. And even though the aforementioned celebrities did have their various degrees of flash, it was all with a foundation of something that they were bringing to the table and something that they had measurable talent and measurable credentials in obtaining their talent. I don't know that we have that today. And it's hard to get an emotional connection to somebody when you know that they're talking in 1.5 minute spurts and doing these edits every 20 seconds. That drives me nuts. When you see these personalities that quote unquote have talent, it's almost as if every other sentence they're cutting a video because I don't know, they don't know what to say. That's not real world. If you have something to say, if you have talent, if you want to present yourself, if you have something to give to the people, it should roll off the tongue. And I'm not saying you have to be perfect about it, but everything, even from an amateur level, is so overproduced and so overprepared. How are we supposed to develop these kinds of relationships similar to the celebrities that I brought up? It's not a one-to-one. And that's not anybody's fault. It's just that the way that the world is right now, we consider people famous or with celebrity status probably for the wrong reasons. And I say that based off of how many views do they get? How many followers do they get? No offense, I would rather have 5 really intelligent followers than 50,000 halfway nitwit followers. That's just me, because I care about the quality of not just what I do, but also the quality of person that wants to absorb what my talents may be and what I can provide to them. So I think we've kind of lost that focus. And when I see people say it's just another celebrity, there's going to be other people that pass away and we're just going to be back here doing the same thing. I kind of understand where that, I guess, base statement comes from, but it's coming from a generation that doesn't have the same exposure and appreciation for people that really committed themselves to a certain craft or a certain talent that they chose to share with the world on a regular basis, not necessarily just for monetary gain or notoriety, but because they genuinely enjoyed doing it. There are so many folks today that want to contribute, and I think it's really nice that folks want their time to be able to speak on something that they love, but it's hard really to connect and feel entertained or educated or have a personal connection when everybody is in the internet talent show and one act doesn't look any different from the next. If you want to look at the body of work Richard Simmons did, you want to talk about somebody who was entertaining and helpful and just a real beacon of light for a society where things could get wacky and things could be pretty good. Either way, he was a constant. And being able to help people the way that he did and gain notoriety while doing it, becoming a household name, if you can help people in a way that benefits them and you have enough personality that people take note and you happen to enjoy and embrace that notoriety and you don't let it drive you or your morals or your intent, that says a lot about you. And someone like a Richard Simmons did that. I can't say the same for folks that want to get on YouTube and monetize and put out a podcast and get all these sponsors. Listen, I would love that too. But if it's going to happen, it's going to happen organically. I don't want to chase something that isn't meant to be. And we have to be okay with that. All of us. We can't all win the talent show. And that's okay. We have to be okay with that. Maybe we should focus our efforts on smaller groups, something more regional, something more localized to others who really can hone in on our appreciation for certain things and our shared love. My whole point in all of this is for anybody similar to the gentleman who made that social media post, these passings mark a time of folks that my generation was easily able to look at and feel some type of comfort and satisfaction and just the expectation of knowing what everybody was going to bring. Folks stayed in their lane, the lane that they were most familiar with and most experienced with, and they ran with it. And they made their respective careers and life work. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful. I can't say the same for today because everybody who feels that they've won the talent show doesn't typically stay in their lane. You have the amateur singer that now with the fame, well, we're going to develop a snack line. Oh, that's great. And now after that's taken off, we're going to develop a clothing line. And, you know, that's funny because this other fashionista over here who's had moderate success, they actually are now going to use some of their profits to kickstart their singing career. And I don't want to say that we need to pigeonhole ourselves into one thing. It's just when you come out as somebody who's all over the place to begin with, you haven't really established what your true intent and what you're bringing to me on a regular basis is about. And that's where the celebrity passings come into play is we knew what we were getting with people. We had a sense of who they were, what they wanted to bring, and what benefits we could get out of their life work and what they were saying and what they were doing. I'm not too sure, and this is not a knock, how the world, and specifically the younger generation, is going to act when certain folks, unfortunately, have their time come up. And by that, I mean, when Mr. Beast is no longer with us, is it going to be the same kind of reaction? If Beaner Kiki is no longer with us, will there be mourning en masse? These are the things that I think it's important to take a moment, and I know there's going to be a population of folks that say, you're taking this way too seriously, and maybe I am. I just know that for a quality life, being able to invest yourself in people you know will deliver because that's what they're good at, that's what they want to do. They just want to succeed at their one thing in particular, and anything else just happens to be extra. And that is achievable. That has happened. But a lot of my generation's fondness for some of these celebrities has come from their ability to prove their primary craft. And there's not a lot of primary craft for today's folks that want to get on Instagram or get on YouTube and say, hey, I'm going to do this. Oh, but I'm also going to do this. Oh, but I'm also going to do this. Guys, we all have opinions. We all have different ways of expressing them. And I think it's cool that we're able to put ourselves out there and hope that we can find others to connect with. But there's not going to be a plethora of us gaining that same type of celebrity or financial success. It's just not the way it is right now. And as long as we have this continued oversaturation of people expecting that they're bringing something relevant to the table, it's just never going to work out for a handful of people who do have that experience and do have the capabilities of proving their worth. But unfortunately, any one person is split into so many directions, it's hard for any one person to keep up with the mass of quote-unquote talent who's out there today. It's really a shame. And I hope that people will gain a better understanding of why others like myself or those my age may look at these 5 passings and say, geez, that's pretty terrible, regardless of the respective circumstances behind each one passing away. it still marks an era of just group relatability and comfort that isn't there today. Because let's be honest, how comfortable and how supported and in a community do we feel with thousands of Facebook groups and thousands of audio listening options for the independent artists, which I'm not saying is bad, just the oversaturation. How do you, in this world of wanting to feel like you want to be a part of something, how do you develop that and that sense of community when we're all over the place? We can't all do our own thing and expect it to take off. And these folks mark an era where your talent and your contributions were almost solely, if not primarily, the way that you got noticed. And I would love to get back to that. I really would. I miss hearing pop music that doesn't have auto-tune on it. I miss it. I just, and it doesn't, when I say auto-tune, I'm not talking the T-Pain depth of auto-tune. I'm saying that you can hear, let's take pop country, for example. Yeah, I said pop country because country is not country anymore. Country is pop country. Let's take pop country. You have some songs where you have a male country singer singing a chorus and holding a note for a good 6-7 seconds straight, apparently, supposedly, and the voice never wavers. There's no, what do you call it? Vibrato. There's no vibrato. There's no fluctuation of the voice. It is just, I don't want to say humanly impossible, but it's not humanly plausible that all of these people can hold without any vibrato, no fluctuation whatsoever, that same note for 6, 7, 8 seconds at a time. You have to be a complete nitwit to think that that's legit, and it's not. And if it's not, then where's the measurable talent begin and end? It makes it very difficult to figure that out. So why do we continue to just take everything as it is? Again, I get it. Rob, jeez, you're being so serious. It's not just that. It's even as a consumer, an entertainment consumer, we deserve to have the best talent do their thing and provide us that entertainment. So why do we, as a society, continue to just accept the disposable, endless amounts of people volunteering their craft that hasn't been finely tuned and hasn't been able to develop over the course of time? There's nothing wrong with sharing the journey. I think that's great, but too many people are considering their journey the entry into a bigger and better field, and it's just, there's no celebrity to be gained when you have that attitude. You have to enjoy doing what you're doing now and just wait and give it time. And you know what? Maybe you never get that. That's okay. Maybe you'll never be on the TV show. Maybe you'll never have the song on the radio. That doesn't mean stop. Continue to do it and be the celebrity to those who support you and want to continue to see your journey unfold. So when our time is up, at least you have some population of folks that you made an impression on. And you might not be the biggest, and you might not be the best, and that's okay. But if you had an influence on somebody, usually it's more than just one person, but let's just say one person. If you had an influence on somebody and your time is up, that's a life that you lived. It was worth living. You made an impression based off of your talent, your contribution, your experience, your advice, your ability to express, and for somebody to soak it in and go, yeah, that was cool. I wish I could do that. Or maybe I can do that, but I don't think I can do it as good as they can. That's a really cool feeling. That's a feeling that I think a lot of us, for these celebrities, that have passed recently feel is we couldn't get on the level of Richard Simmons or Shannon Doherty. Are you kidding me? I know some people will look and say, oh, right place, right time. Hey, I'm not arguing that might have something to do with everybody's success. That's not exclusive to celebrity. Come on, let's be honest. But they had a certain it factor, a certain measurable talent that was able to be shared across the board. And that's why people have been mourning and celebrating their lives the way that they have been. So to the gentleman who made that post on social media, I don't expect you to be listening to this. Maybe you will. Maybe a friend or a family member of yours will be listening to this episode. I would like to say to him and to anybody else with a similar opinion of why do people whine when we have so many people in the world dying every few seconds anyways. Yes, it's a tragedy, but not everybody is afforded the opportunity and the blessing to share part of their life's work and talent, true, measurable, proven talent with others in this world, and to do it for as long as these folks have. That's a heck of an accomplishment. And if you can get that, that's great. If you never achieve that, that doesn't mean that you're not successful with what you do. It's not necessarily a numbers game today because, again, as long as we continue to oversaturate the capabilities of our technology and social media, we will never truly filter down to those with true talent until we all collectively get together and say, you know what, I like what you're doing, but these 10 folks over here are doing the same thing and with not much difference. So that's when you got to take those 11 folks, think to yourself, which one or two of these do I really like? Because keeping up with everybody like that, it doesn't do anything for anybody. And ultimately, for those 11 people doing the same thing, none of them are going to reach the celebrity status anywhere near the level that these 5 aforementioned celebrities reached. I know this has been kind of a long-winded topic, but I think it's one that was worth discussing. Let me know, have there been celebrities over the past, say, 5 or 10 years that really affected you when they passed away? What was it about their talent and what they brought? And why did it affect you so much? I would absolutely encourage you to reach out to us. You can always communicate with us. We are on Facebook at facebook.com/complexcontext1. We're also on X. Our username is @complexcontext1. And send us an email. Yeah, we still do the email thing. We love that. complexcontextshow@yahoo.com. We are on over 11 different platforms, including YouTube, so you can catch us even on that. Make sure you spread the love. We appreciate your listenership as always. And whenever in doubt, you can go to the fine folks who host our program and help us with the distribution, Podbean. Hey, Podbean folks, glad to see you as always. Our homepage is there. Through their site, we are at complexcontext.podbean.com. Thank you so much for listening this week. I hope you continue to stay cool as much as I'm continuing to try. I know it's summertime here in Massachusetts, and a lot of the United States has really gone through some crazy weather lately. Let's all be good to each other. Let's look out for each other. Make sure that your neighbors are doing okay, especially some of the older neighbors. We got to take care of them. Get your water. Get your sun hat there. Get everything. Get the sun umbrella. Get the cooler. Get the ice. Keep the doggies and the kitties inside if you can. And let's do this again. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. So reach out, in any of those ways that we just gave you. And until next time, I'm Rob Impact. Do what you do. Do it often. Do it well. Just don't do anything I wouldn't do, and you'll be doing all right. You take care.
Visit the show's website at complexcontext.podbean.com. Complex Context is a Mass Ed Media production.